No, na? Like, is there like any of you whose classes or economics classes are clashing or something? Because I've shifted students to new batch, like not new batch, some other batch, because their classes were clashing with the economics class times. Is it with you like this? Mariam, Muhammad Ayan, and Heba? No? Okay. So in the previous class, we did components. Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So today we'll be starting with, okay. So when we did components, we had like, this was the thing. AD equals to, right? AD equals to C plus I plus G plus the net export. Okay. Which is X minus M. So C plus I plus G plus this. These are the four components of aggregate demand. Okay. But when we talk about aggregate demand in two sector model, so you are going to take only these two. Okay. So when, see, if I'll ask you what are the components of aggregate demand, then you will say that, ma'am, there are four components of aggregate demand. C plus I plus G plus NE, which is your private expenditure, investment expenditure, government expenditure, and net export. But if I'll ask you what is aggregate demand in two sector model, sorry, then you will say that in a two sector model, it is assumed that aggregate demand is a function of consumption and investment. Okay. So here, if I'll talk about two sector, you are only going to tell me starting two: consumption, private consumption, and the investment. Okay. So aggregate demand in two sector model is C plus IA. It is not C plus I plus G plus net export, which is X minus M. No, this is not like this. This is this only, because we have to take only two models. Okay. Where your C is consumption expenditure and your I is investment. Clear? Clear? No?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so now you will write this hashtag aggregate demand in two sector model and this. In a two sector model, this, and then aggregate demand equals to C plus I. I'm writing over here itself so that you don't get confused. C plus I, and C, where C is equals to this and I equals to this. Quickly write it. Okay, good evening, Nahida. How are you?
Good evening, ma'am. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm also fine. So I started this, Nahida. Like in the previous class, we did components, right? So today we
Yes.
are like, we already know we have four components, right? But
Yes.
today we are doing that if I'll ask you aggregate demand in two sector models. Okay. Then you are going to take only two models, like the starting one, C and I. Okay. So in a two sector model, it is assumed that aggregate demand is a function of consumption and investment also. Okay. So aggregate demand in two sector model. If I'll ask you what are the components of aggregate demand in general, then you will say, ma'am, four components. But if I'll ask you what are the components of aggregate demand in two sector model, then you will say, ma'am, only C and I. Where C is consumption expenditure, the private consumption expenditure, and I is investment. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you can write down hashtag aggregate demand in two sector model and the entire thing. Everyone is right.
None, ma'am.
Others done?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mohammed Ayan and Mariam done?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now we will be doing aggregate demand schedule and graph. Over here some sprint, so just ignore it. So you know the schedule. Now you already know what is aggregate demand, right? So you already know what are the components, and also you know what are in two sector model what you are going to take. Okay. So in the entire chapter we are going to deal with two sector economy. Okay. We are not going to deal with all the four, just two. Okay. C and I. Okay. Now first we will draw the schedule, and after that we will draw the graph. Okay. So ma'am, how come you will be able to draw a schedule? Okay. So schedule is, for example, it's national income. Why? See, income will be always there. That's why you people are going to do the consumption and the investment, right? So as I told you, Keynes told us that in our economy, we are going to take the autonomous investment. Autonomous investment remains same. It doesn't get affected by anything. Okay. So you will be making three columns. First, national income, which is represented by Y, and the consumption, which is represented by C, and your investment, which is I. And then AD. AD is basically C plus I. Okay. You can see your national income was 0. Then it is 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50. It is increasing somewhere, right? And what about consumption? As your income will increase, what will happen? Your consumption will also increase. So it is like 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, and 45. Consumption is also increasing. But your investment, for example, you invested 20 rupees. So autonomous investment means it remains same throughout. You are not going to change. Whether your income is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, whatever it is. Autonomous investment remains autonomous. Automatically, it will remain same. It won't be changing anywhere, right? So 20, 20, 20, 20, 20. Now you have to find AD. You know it is C plus I. So 20 plus 20, 40. 25 plus 20, 45. 30 plus 20, 50. 35 and 20, 55. 40 and 20, 60. 45 and 20, 65. Got this table?
Yes, ma'am.
Others?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
Yes, ma'am.
good. Now we are going to do the schedule. Okay. So see, your graph will be like this. You are going to, this is negative and this is positive. So you can see first we will draw investment. So it is 20. So for example, it is like 10, 20, 30 like this. And here it is 10, 20, 30. Okay. So from here 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20. This will be your I. Clear? You can see it over here. Right? This is your 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20 I. Okay. So you are just going to write I. Okay. Next is your, next what we are going to represent, consumption. So you can see your consumption is increasing 20, 25, 30, 35. So 20, then 25, 35 like this on. So your consumption is increasing like this. This is C. And now the third one is your I. Sorry. your this AD, okay, which is your 40, 45 and somewhere. So if your 30 is here, then your 40 will here, and 40, 45, it is also increasing, right? So you can see this was your graph. This is, you will simply write here national income, okay. Okay, next over here, from here you will be starting 20, 20, 20, which is your I. This one is your, you just don't need to write this, just write C, and this one is your AD. Yeah, you don't need to write all this. Got the point? The graph? No? Students, no? You can say no. Okay, wait. For example, this is your graph. Okay, this is 10, this is 20, this is 30, this is 40. Let's just take an example. This is 10, this is 20, this is 30, this is 40. Okay, so first we will draw, this is national income. This one is your national income Y. Okay, and this is your, you can say aggregate demand over here. These are the numbers. So first you will write, first you will draw autonomous consumption. So when your income is 0, your autonomous investment is 20. Then, okay, so that means when your income is 0, your autonomous investment is 20 over here. Okay, when your income is 10, your autonomous income is all, your autonomous investment is 20 again. So when your income is 10, your autonomous investment is 20. Then when your income is 20, your autonomous investment is 20. So when it is 20, it is 20. When it is 30, it is 30. When it is 40, it is 40. So you can say it is like this, straight line. This is your I. Got the point for I?
Yes, ma'am.
Others?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Heba and Mariam. Other? No? Heba?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Adab and Mariam got it? No? Okay. Simply, see, students don't feel like, oh my god, what is this? Just take, this is your x-axis, you are going to take it in an x-axis. Okay, and these three things you are going to take it on y-axis. So first you will write investment, then the consumption, then your aggregate demand. Then we'll start with your consumption. So you can see, for 0 it was 20. So first for 0 it was 20. So here, okay. Then for 10 it was 25. Just a minute. Okay, for 10 it was 25. So you can see, for 10 it is 25. So somewhere it will be like here, right? Then for 20 it is 30. So for 20 it is 30. Then for 30 it is 35. So for 30 it is 35. So you can see it is increasing like this, right? Got it?
Yes.
This is your C. Others got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
Yes.
Now, very good. Now your AD. Okay. So you can see for 0 it was 40. So for 0, here is your 0. 0, he was 40. So ma'am, it is 40. I just excluded 50, 60 like this. Okay. For 10, it is 45. So for 10, it is 45. So here. Then for 20, it is 50. For 20, it is 50. For 30, it is 55 here. So you can see it is also rising. And this is your AD. Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Others? Nahida, Muhammad Ayan, Adab, Mariam.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this is what you are going. Here they have simply drawn it. Okay. But the exact thing is you are not going to, you people already know. Just remember one thing, but in x-axis, on x-axis, you are going to take income. And here you are going to take all other factors like aggregate demand, consumption. Why I have written AD? Because AD is somewhere C plus I. Right? That's why I have written AD over here. Clear? So I hope now you people can draw this. Right? And of course the schedule also. You don't need to draw it like this only. You just draw it roughly. I hope you people know how to plot it. Right? So no need to just draw it randomly. First draw the schedule. then the graph. So first write aggregate demand schedule. Schedule is basically the table. Okay, so write aggregate demand schedule, then just draw the schedule. Okay, this one. And then after that aggregate demand graph and the graph thing. Okay. Students, let me know once you are done. I'll scroll it down. Okay.
Done, ma'am. Ma'am, can you scroll down?
Okay. Others done?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'll just scroll it down. Okay. This is your graph. You can draw it. Randomly draw it. Just keep it a gap. You can write over here 20 and just write over here 40. And here you can write the digit like this 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Okay. Till 50 you can write over here. And don't forget to write here 0.
Done, ma'am.
Okay, others done? Okay, I'll just wait for 1 more minute, then I'll scroll it down. Okay. Okay, I think everyone is done. Yes. So let's just quickly move. Now, this is important concept about aggregate demand. This is what we draw, right? Now the thing is that, ma'am, what we like, of course, if I'm examiner, like I cannot relate it. What is this? Okay, two lines are going above and one line is going straight. What does it mean? Right? So you have to explain the graph as well. Okay. So important concept about aggregate demand. So first, aggregate demand is a function of consumption and investment only. You know, over here, what is your aggregate demand? Your aggregate demand is a, aggregate of or a function of two things, consumption and investment. Okay. Second is the investment expenditure is assumed to be autonomous, which means, Nahida, can you hear me? She's facing issues. Okay. Second is investment expenditure is assumed to be autonomous. Autonomous, as I told you. So investment expenditure, you are assuming that it is autonomous. Okay. Which means it will remain constant at all level of income. Whether your income is 10 rupees, 20 rupees, 30 rupees, 40 rupees, it will remain same throughout. Clear? Second point. I think Naida has not connected her audio. Okay. Okay. Now, next thing is investment curve will be straight line parallel to x-axis as it is not affected by change in level of income. So, your investment curve will be straight line and it will be parallel to x-axis. Okay. Because it is not being affected by the income. No matter whether you are earning more or less, your investment will remain same. Next, consumption will be positive even at zero level of income as the minimum level of consumption is done for the survival. So, even when your income is zero, then your consumption will be positive. That means it is going to be something 1, 2, 3, 4. It is going to be something. Why? Because you need minimum level of consumption for survival, right? If you want to survive, you need water, you need clothes, you need food, right? So you will be demanding no matter whether you are earning or whether you are not earning. This consumption is known as autonomous consumption. Yeah. So this consumption, this one, is known as autonomous consumption, that is when it is not being affected by the income. Okay. Next is the slope of consumption curve is positive, which shows that when income increases, consumption also increases. So you can see that, as I told you, when we were doing demand thing, there were two things. One is this is your positive one and this is your negative one, right? So you can see that consumption will be, the slope of consumption curve is positive, which shows when the income increases, consumption also increases. Then the starting point of ED curve is above zero, as there is always a minimum level of consumption and investment in the economy. So you can see aggregate demand is also not starting from zero. Why? Because in an economy there will be an investment and there will be some consumption. And aggregate demand is mixture of consumption and investment. That's why it cannot be zero. That's why it's starting from like above zero. It will always start above zero, not from zero. Clear? Students, clear?
Yes,
No?
ma'am.
Okay. Others?
Yes, ma'am.
So you can write.
Done, ma'am. Done, ma'am.
Okay, Nahida, you can write down the points and let me know if any point you are not getting it. I'll repeat it. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Done, ma'am.
Okay, others done.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Mohammed Dayan, Adib, Mariam.
Done, ma'am.
Done, ma'am.
Okay. Now we are done with aggregate demand. Okay, so we'll be starting with aggregate supply. Okay, so ma'am, what is aggregate supply? So aggregate supply is the value. See, over there, components and all that, that was very important because in your chapter, they will be focusing, the CBSE is going to focus more on aggregate demand, like in detail. But the supply one, you won't be getting in that much detail because that is somewhere reduced. Okay, but we need to understand aggregate supply because when we'll be doing the further topics we'll be covering, we need aggregate supply over there. So that's why we need to cover it. Okay. So meaning of aggregate supply. So aggregate supply is the value of all final goods and services that all the producer are planning to supply over a period of time. Aggregate demand was total value of all the goods that the consumer were demanding, right? But now aggregate supply is the value of all final goods and services that all producer who supply producer supplies, right? So that all the producers are planning to supply over a period of time or during an accounting year. Okay, so that is known as aggregate supply. And aggregate supply equals to your income. Okay, so how output produced in an economy is always equal to income generated. Aggregate supply is equals to all final goods and services produced in an economy, which is equals to its national income. Okay, so see, whatever you will be supplying, right? For example, you are a person, you manufacture clothes. Okay, so whatever you will be supplying, for example, you produce one clothes, two clothes, three clothes, four clothes, that will determine your income, right? If you are producing four clothes, that means you'll be getting 400 rupees. If you are producing three clothes, that means you'll be getting 300 rupees. So what is happening? What you are supplying, that will be your income. Clear? Is it? No? Okay. Wait. When we were demanding, right? So if you are demanding, what you will do? You will do expenditure, right? So somewhere we were saying aggregate demand is somewhere aggregate expenditure, right? But if you are supplying something, supplying means selling something. As for supply and as for selling. If you will supply something, you will get your income, you will get money, right? So supply is your income, you are getting it. But your demand is your expenditure. If you are demanding, that means you are ready to pay that amount. But if you are supplying something, that means if you supplied four clothes, if one clothes is for 100 rupees, then you'll be getting 400 rupees. If you supply five clothes, that means you are going to get 500 rupees. That is your income. Now it is clear why I have written S
Yes.
equals to income. This Y is your income. Others, is it clear now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So first of all, you will write meaning of aggregate supply. Then you will write aggregate supply equals to Y. And in bracket, you will write Y is your income. And then till here. How? Whatever you are producing, output produced in an economy is always equals to income generated. Okay, because of that output only you will generate your income. Okay, so quickly write it down.
Done, ma'am.
Others done?
Yes, ma'am. Done.
Okay. So now, see. Now aggregate supply is basically your output, which is equals to your income. Okay, so Y is somewhere equals to aggregate supply. This you already know. Aggregate supply equals to what you are producing, and Y is your Y. Just remember, Y is, I will not always write income. Y is your income. Okay. So now, what are the components of aggregate supply? Okay. So components of aggregate supply are two components: consumption and savings. Okay. So if I'll ask you what are the components of aggregate demand in two sector economy, so you will say, ma'am, what? Consumption and investment. But if I'll ask you the components of aggregate supply, you will say consumption plus savings. Consumption plus expenditure are part of demand, aggregate demand, but consumption and savings are part of aggregate supply. Got the point?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you will first write this. Aggregate supply equals to output equals to income. And then you will write hashtag components of aggregate supply. So Y equals to, or see, whether you are going to write AS, which is your aggregate supply, or Y. You can write AS or Y. Both are the same thing because you have already mentioned that Y is your aggregate supply. Income is equals to aggregate supply. Okay. So you will write aggregate supply, components of aggregate supply, Y, which is your national income equals to consumption plus saving. That means this is the equation. Y equals to C plus S. Clear?
Yes, ma'am. Clear.
So write it down. Okay, Nahida, just take a screenshot of this and you can complete it. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Took, ma'am.
Okay, Nahida. Bye bye. Nahida, I'll be taking your exam is on.
21st September.
Okay, okay. So tomorrow I have not taken that national income class, the extra class. So tomorrow I'll be taking. So tomorrow just text me like whenever you are free so that I can decide. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Take care.
You too.
Done, ma'am.
Oh, you can leave. Bye bye. Take care.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, Mariam. You can also leave. Bye bye. Take care. Other than Mohammed Ayan, done?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay then. Bye bye Ayan. Take care.
Thank you, ma'am.
Other done?